Okay, Abushia, Yabemu Bibia Kwaba, Slonkoso, Aba number 1 political channel, POG Media, Sumashio, say a fee and as waba, obe like and was subscribe and I've ensured my share Jumediano, I'm for Francis to me, I can, and please kindly click on the notification bell, so I'm a brand and a political update to be able to channel this to be and also, on Sa to me, I can watch say, nothing was so actual. I feel you Ryan Seminum. Near fansam do na embreu sisi Chief Justice Gertrude Torkono ensensem no sisi case no akotene Mahama versus Ghana Bar Associations esan se sebi nsem hunu ene ensema emfata Ghana Bar Associations for no edi na busua time papa na John Dramani Mahama aba send strong warning ama Ghana Bar Associations eni bra His Excellency John Dramani Mahama edi akasa no enye ni bracket to na NDC officials nso ebi nso akasa achese ensema akọ ama Ghana Bar Associations no enye nsem kuma wansha Ghana Bar Association and institution na friend Ghana Bar Association akasa no John Dramani Mahama ebetime dissolve na chese ensema akoso highway ne so ano eden eti min waste time kra no me person be me akona akwakuti ensem no mu bi na ansa na be kono me sure so wonsem kai bia na be share a comment section wala like share Jumedi no ma foforo so nsa entumi enkebi medamase
the Friday the entire PA but here we are for God and country.
Sure.
And my man kase ye kase ye chichiro manya ya da bia me kase it will take the collective might and the collective effort of us all.
Yeah.
Those in power and those outside power, civil society organizations, carpenter, driver, wine, ye collective effort and ye kikambum and ye the teacher of mine. By the discharging this collective responsibility, we need to be very candid, we need to be very honest, and we need to be very dispassionate.
Okay.
Now issues ye confront here, ye fa no kre enye ye nema. Ghana Bar Association ne stands on this Chief Justice issue na ekoso me until recently kwana minim se san Ghana Bar Association edaso ho.
Oh, are they?
Oh yes, because in the last 8 years yahu the atrocities akoso Akroma saying the assault on the foundations of our democracy in this country, individuals who have been hounded, the integrity of the very judiciary of which Ghana Bar Association has always been part, has been on the offense downward offense has slide. Every single pool, every single thing be about a judiciary be just a time. Now we Ghana Bar Association at that moment could not find its voice. Nema na ekoso Akroma various attacks in Yemahuna na ekoso court ruling na sebi eba na nyansa nim and there. General public were rising, asking critical questions. This institution was very silent. Again, the president on several occasions, President Akuffo under his time, flouted the constitution of this country to the point where Dominivo issue court say the president action were deemed unconstitutional. Samra yes this Akuffo so Akroma say not on a single occasion and I will see on my voice Akroma say. You have numerous appointments and a Supreme Court bench. Appointment and President Akuffo a known partisan individuals. Among for them, Papa MPP ni uko whole central. Oko contest. It is not about whether the person qualifies or not. We are dealing with society. Civility is key. Bringing me on board will taint the integrity of the judiciary. Ghana Bar Association could not found their voice under these horrible circumstances. Once again, here we are change of government. Now President Mahama go through processes. Man for their brother all of a sudden, then the dogs are backing once again. Oh yes, sir, nobody will take you serious. So for me, they are just backing, you understand? Just making noise for people to hear them. But as it stands now, they've lost their essence, they have no reputation, people don't respect them, people don't regard them. And into now various social media platforms, there are several people who have had their voice or found their voice on this matter. But Ghana Bar Association alone is going through a lot of ridicule, being because among for them said they are not credible. This is a political movement, not a bar association that is there to ensure say free and fair whatever rule of law by Akroma. it is a political tool, a rogue one that is being used by some individuals for a particular agenda. And for me, that is what they are. It's the reason why people don't assign any seriousness to them. Yeah, this is a legal institution. Or Baba can't and say, dear President Ayano, it's Yamra, and he unresigning decision. Or have rejoined a statement on what the Bible here. They could not. They say they could not assign a single reason. It's just a President Mahama Abu Mraso, and for that matter, you know, suspension or the message no onyai. We are not talking about coffee makers, so we are talking about lawyers. They say I know we are fundaka na camera. We are talking about lawyers. Talking law. So you should premise your argument on constitutional grounds. Infraction, legal infraction, say we now so President Mahama Fumwe, the processes has been outlined. And it's in line with the constitutional provisions as outlined in the Constitution. There hasn't been a single deviation from any of the provisions. And again, Nipana are part of the process. Mo AD now president asene just to ensure that this process goes through. No, these are not any individuals. So we are talking about individuals. Former Chief Justice at the bench, so a former Supreme Court judge, and these are individuals that President Mahama cannot manipulate them. So for these people to go through the evidence that have been submitted, now I'm running into a conclusion that there is merit to this particular way, and the president can go ahead and form a committee. The president did so, and again, so the rights are president Awana, the constitutional framers, and President Amkwa, only he alone can exercise that discretion. And he says when the committee is set up to investigate the Chief Justice, the president may, that is a discretionary injunction that is imposed on the president, and the president has activated it. Ghana Bar Association has no power. They have no authority to order and answer call President Mahama to resign that decision. You can only beg him, because that is a discretionary power that is imposed on the president, and only he can exercise that power. So how dare you sit somewhere and say, your friend is only who to me now, who can suspend the Chief Justice. Then I'm asking them, say, 2020 way area, however, Abraham Manasseh, your friend say, Anas, an investigation now. Committee no find said there is a premier facia in the defense case now. Yeah, the command President Akuffo no. Why then did he suspend your friends judges? No, he suspended 4 judges and eventually sacked them. At the time, I suspended your mono. Now, some so at the time, no, Ghana Bar Association never find anything wrong with the move by the president at the time or exercise that discretionary power to suspend your friend is saying. Way for no, judges no. But today the same process is being activated. All of a sudden, these people are backing like dogs. As if you said they are relevant. But I'm saying, so person need to take you serious. Quite first of all, bravo. Some meeting no over 5,000 lawyers and I'm told around 52. That tells you how unserious this whole institution is. You understand? And in some more can be for me, because there is no single reason, there is no logic, there is no sense, and again there is no legal backing, legal basis, or any constitutional basis for any of the argument they are making. That is what I'm saying. They are just backing like dogs. Because as many people will take you serious when you premise it, President Mahama breached this constitutional provision. And for that matter, no, the president need to. He has done this. And these are lawyers making. But if lawyers are talking like coffee makers, just assumptions, suppositions, just throwing things, just like that, people will not take it serious. So if the president even want to go by your directive, that he has breached any of the constitution, point to him which aspect of the constitution and what breach, so that we all come here and say, president breached this constitutional provision, and for that matter, no, there is the need for him to bring the Chief Justice back. But if lawyers are talking like this, A child say they are being driven by emotions, and when you are driven by emotions, you lose your senses. You talk foolishly, and for me, that is what is driving them. I'm for a way. But these are institutions that is supposed to be part of the foundational, your friends say, organizations. A bit me a boy, I may be on mine. You expect to say they will be very intelligent, they will be very smart and very way. But sometimes you listen to people on TV and you wonder, say, we are telling you because sometimes the way they speak, you even wonder, you understand? You've seen a couple of them on TV. Sometimes you identify the credibility of our legal institutions in this country as to whether the kind of ethics, morality, and those kind of we are entitled to belong to whichever political party of our choice. Yeah. Nobody can take that thing away from us. But when you want to engage in public discourse, be mindful that you are speaking to intelligent minds out there, not gullible fools. So assembly must be, your friends are factually coherent, must be premised on something substantial. I have a manipulator. Asama brante and again, the basis of the petition, my culture say it has no partisan inclination. For instance, police in the make a way. This is a police officer. As some started takrade. Your friends say beach front our takrade and our town. Now on town cry, Brunino call Netherlands, and the girlfriend called 4G, Brunino documents, and over Thomas, assassin the man, your friends a police officer, and our toy. As some local causes, some power of our town in now or buying the town, property in the ma Bruni, and the ma.
Alright, Ebusianti, some movie, and your call a cucutin, na your brother, your friend, Ivan, editor, what you say, CC no Ghana Bar Associations, or Mabeka, one of the useless institutions are a Ghana. Isante yet Ghana and a Cecilia Dapa. Sorry, Charlotte or say former electoral commissioner boss. Ye forward petition said they remove no ye nya sebi nyanse ba akope ewo eye Ghana Bar Associations amba say that process no eye illegal and so nda adu Torkono 10 de Ghana Bar Associations for asole say John Dramani Mahama and revoke Torkono suspension na say and some Ivan etutu Ghana Bar Associations for no and the expose wa ya form na busua ano eden enti me pese mo be me akona akwakuti ya brother Ivan and some ore to aso
a police officer and a forgery and I will do assembly police in so as a lawyer no a sen ko due diligence one thing no one or the Supreme Court na yesam bugu ni so a or the Chief Justice konya banta I hold back and forth for my chain no two ma or the assembly court raja and the work petition thereby at the president and him this particular case which aspect of it na President Mahama involved because a personal beef between the Chief Justice and a police officer who is a lawyer out in the the other petition also talk about your friends say infractions are so I don't know and you been a true you a audit service and kasa a institution of Ghana accredited and a quiet judicial service no more audit and who these infractions and will be a chance on these infractions and our the rules and the sanction and several other courtroom near Akoso. So in any of these instances, baby no betimi aka say ebia NDC ni bia na so obi na search na say we na search until so obi nya sa na no. Let us dwell on the facts being raised in this petition.
One of the petition court high court ruling ma BBG abo say hearing stating back today and no say ruling near the by and Chief Justice
yes that is the third petition from Sunshine, that group called Sunshine. So who read that petition ma na yetimi bowura court court is a court ne just air time near my wom air time. So some of these near my we nyina can ho be and over the years ye ka say the integrity of our judiciary has been sinking, and as a country it is our sacred responsibility and our constitutional duty as people to ensure we sanitize this institution. That is the clarion call by a larger section of Ghanaians on the president, and that's exactly what he's doing. So what the hell is going on? If Ghana Bar Association an institution Ghana for free say baby ananka your constitution kakra bi kuroma say nka you lose your democracy. They never found their voices. So over now people see you become a bunch of hypocrites. Nobody will take you serious. Over the years when the names are Kuroma Ghana Bar Association, all of a sudden people knew say when Mahama Ebe president, and they will come back. And shamefully here they are once again barking like dogs. The question is, all these years, you know, not Ghana democracy sinking to a point, and Ghana for wanted a military rule, even more than democratic rule. Where were they? Their duty is to ensure that we safeguard the foundations of our democracy. Where were they? These are legitimate questions any sensible person. You see, this emotional campaign being activated by these people, for me, is a senseless one. Nobody will take them serious. And maybe they don't know. President Mahama this time around is a different Mahama. Yeah. He's not someone who will fall for some of this nonsense. He's not somebody who will fall for some of these theatrics. He's determined and focused on what he's doing. Because the mandate that has been imposed on him by Ghanaians, you know, is far bigger and larger accident. He cannot afford to fail the people of this country. Yeah. So as long as the people of Ghana want institutions to be reset, you know, he will do so. And he will not default because the very moment of a default, you know, and for me, he's focused. And for the MPP as a political party, I find your can say, oh, yeah, way. Makacha said, these are shameless bunch of individuals. They have lost cause. They have no credibility. There are people no serious mind will take them serious. Party no lose. A very embarrassing faction. I expected they would just go back and then do self-introspection. The thing is that you may be dissatisfied with the turn of events. Yeah. But the question is, in seminar month for is it legitimate or it is not legitimate? And process here, air course when they under your turn, you follow through and you do the same thing. Sure. And because it is John Mahama today, already on Ghana, as president, leaving the powers a constitution in the man of Krano, he cannot exercise. Now, no, me catch yourself. NDC time. Professor Mills appointed your friends Mame Loretta, your friends Lamte, as your friends Shraj. Yeah, another prayer. And the one Richard Newman, a petition President Mahama said, Mamina Disika. President Mahama set up a committee to say, well, yeah, I'm almost set it up. Yeah, premier for see at the end of the day, the president sacked the woman appointed under NDC by Professor John Evers and Tamils. Went through the process. Now, even in opposition, then submitted a petition to the same John Mahama. He followed through. Now, was sacking Nipana. Now, or baby doing is no be. And the petition bar. What are you saying is that that person cannot already or yeah because on Nipa. And again, Chief Justice na Aduma na or what people should know said there should be a clear distinction being a Supreme Court judge and being Chief Justice, you know, they are two different things. Yeah. This is a judge clothed with administrative powers. So you are more than a judge. So the decisions and the choices you make, you know, our administrative impact effect. And if you do anything contrary to rules of engagement, you can be penalized for that. Yeah. But don't assume say you are being penalized because you are a judge. No. Administrative duty that has been given to you. Sadian na doctors in where or when a teaching hospital mokono. The person is not being punished because he's a doctor. He's being punished because a doctor being given extra administrative duty. And administrative duty in the discharge of it, you know, he has defaulted. And that is why he's being punished. You understand? So what wanna say what would need clarity of thought? Now, if you want to do narrow thinking, if you don't want to do expanded thinking, if you want to go linear way, this is the way you think. And sometimes I feel so surprised and ashamed when I see old men with BS sitting on TV calling themselves lawyers, talking rubbish. Sometimes when they speak, they appear more confused on issues of law, even more than a coffee maker trying to understand law. That's what I'm saying, sir. Because sometimes some of these people, know. Because honesty any their part in Ghana na with me sorry turn about two lawyers back on the same issue. Interpretation with here depending on baby obi agina across the political the same classroom, learn the same thing. But because of dishonesty, they will never agree on anything. And in some more kind it's not driven by Nyansao, it's driven by emotions. And that is why we are not moving on. But for me, we learn law just to advance the progress of society. Yeah. But in our part of the world, you could see a lot of change. Yeah. So, oh yes, you could see a lot of change with TV. So now, so society has no impact. And yet the someone I acquire them. So I think the president needs to remain firm, resolute, and stay on course. Because for me, as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution, as outlined in Article 146, the president as of now has never and has not breached anything. One, or say a petition will have to be submitted. The petition will have to be forwarded to Council of State. My culture said that is not a discretionary injunction, that is a constitutional injunction on the president. Council of State, they are not people we can bulldoze at them and influence them. These people sat on the petition, and according to some sources, which I doubt though, because a significant number of the people agree, say, there is merit in this petition. We cannot just discharge it, we cannot throw it away. So, Mr. President, let us form a committee. Judges. And what is your beef? Demonstration MPP for to what end? For what? So this emotional campaign, and I say, Ghana for are very mature individuals. So you see, you can do all these things. And I'm catch IGP says, Obi demonstration with Akroma, he should never stop anybody. He should allow anybody who wants, because that is their constitutional way. But Ghana for are smart now. They can discern between propaganda and your friends say what is actually the fact, because so cancer man for demonstration because processes has been activated to remove Chief Justice. Who basis in the saying and then a Chief Justice and I am a writer or be wrong. And now why they been wrong will be that should be the basis of being demonstration. These are a major part of our politicking in this country has always been premised on emotions. Because we know we are dealing with a bunch of emotional, unintelligent people. When we shout, they will come out and follow us. But through these platforms here, these advocacies, young people are becoming largely and increasingly enlightened. And they are getting to understand politics. You cannot be calling people out for a foolish cause. Trust me. People might want to know why we want to do this, why we did this, why we want to do this. And at the end of the day, if you are unable.
Okay, Abusia teachers when in some so our political hiring such as NDC gurus about send strong one and Ghana Bar Association so much as say Omonche Omoho every a Torkono sensemo and yes sir Omujina bre ebe mobo. Esan say you will crum her and I shall say ye pamone ya ye nya sebi nyanseni ba kokra wo Ghana Bar Associations amba mekase process no illegal enti ende edu Torkono so adenti no mobile bontin aba bekasa omonka mwanu ntum enyesa omugina bre ebe mobile se one is akọ Ghana Bar Associations no ano ne tebushia bere mmesia na madam asesa maje pene ye emekoti ensema akọ so political highway so POG Media madam asese